Hello, learners. Welcome to the stream. Who's ready to learn? I know I am. Hi, everybody. How's it going? What's on Nathan's head? It's a hat. My hair is behaving in a way today. Didn't didn't give me any heads up on that, so uh, we're dealing with it. What's up, everybody? Welcome. Doing a little guided practice stream today because that's all I know how to do. I never have a lesson plan. I just ask what you guys want to practice drawing and then we practice it together. And hopefully we all can learn together as well as a result. Because that's how you get better at drawing is by practicing. It's something that I always think I should do more than I end up doing, but at least every 3 or 4 months I have to do it because it's my job as part of draw class to do that. So just get the there we go. Yeah. So we're doing it. And today it seems like we're going to be practicing. A lot of people had stuff related to armor, so I think drawing armor is sort of the main thing we're going to be practicing, but there were some other more general things people asked about wanting to practice, like sketching and deciding on how much adjustments to make during the sketching phase of drawing. So we can do a little bit of that probably as it relates to armor. I saw we got one suggestion at the last minute about drawing creatures. I don't know if we'll get to that today since basically everything I prepared is about is about drawing armor, but always down to draw creatures. I think we've got a lot of creature based drawing classes that I've done in the past that you can feel free to look at, but also happy to do more creaturey stuff in the future as well. But yeah, we're just gonna learn together. I try to make these very low pressure, remove any barrier or mental blocks around it having to be good. I think Jacob in one of his draw classes did a good job of explaining it where when you think about drawing and practicing drawing, it's actually really helpful to separate those two ideas in your mind. Even though you're doing similar actions, you're drawing, you're creating marks on canvas or paper or whatever. When you're drawing for the purpose of practicing, you're doing input. And I know I'm repeating myself. I go over this every time I host a draw class because I never know if someone new is watching. And I just think it's good to get yourself in that headspace. You're doing input. You're less concerned with the output, with what drawing results from the act of practicing. What's important is that you went through the process of practicing. And if you end up with something that you're happy with, if one of the things you draw during your practice is something that you like enough that you want to share, great. But that's not the goal. The goal is doing this activity which is going to strengthen whatever neural pathways are connected to doing this activity and hopefully making it so that when you do sit down to draw for output, you are a little bit better at trying to achieve whatever goal you're trying to achieve with that output. And the best way to practice is to do it consistently. And I know these draw classes that we do them once a month. I only host every 3 or 4 months, depending on the other host schedules. So I know this is not consistent, but hopefully the stuff that you do in these classes, at least something that we do, resonates with you enough that you feel compelled to practice more consistently. I I know I could for sure be practicing more consistently than I am. So do as I say, not as I do. But yeah, the first thing we always do when I'm hosting a draw class is, I think, staring down a blank screen or canvas or piece of paper can oftentimes be intimidating. A lot of times that's where people stop. You sit down to practice, you look at it and you go, I'm not feeling it. So we're just going to push past that by scribbling. I always start off with some scribbling, and I encourage you to do the same. And just in case anyone's curious, I'm using Photoshop. I'm using the default hard round brush with opacity, sensitivity, and size sensitivity turned on for the drawing tablet that I'm using. But you can use whatever you want. I'm trying to use just sort of the most basic settings so that it feels like anyone who wants to follow along can, and there's no barrier here. You could be doing pen and paper, pencil and paper, whatever drawing program, whatever brush settings you find most comfortable. That's not going to factor into what we're doing here today. And I'm using just a little bit above like pure black here on my color picker. We can take a look. I'm sort of at, like, there's it's 90% black is down here. I'm sort of in like the 60s, 70s range. But again, you use whatever you want, whatever you feel the most comfortable drawing with, because that's what's going to get you in the mood to practice. So get comfy first. And we're just going to do a couple rounds of these scribbles, and as we do them, each round we're going to try and be a little bit more controlled. The first one very loose. This one, let's try and get more of a sense of control over whatever drawing implement we are using, and make a little bit more of an effort. And just, you don't need to think too hard about it, but just see the way your hand feels like moving, and just sort of follow that. I believe this is a practice called automatic drawing, and I think it's a good way to sort of move yourself away from the verbal part of your brain, which is oftentimes the part that you're thinking with, just because we are verbal creatures, and into that more creative, theoretical, abstract part of your brain, and let that part lead and guide you. And just open yourself up to creativity. And again, we're trying not to put too much pressure on ourselves here. We're doing this because some part of us wants to improve. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And it's a vulnerable thing. But you don't have to share a single thing that you draw in this draw class. I'm doing this all in front of you to show that there's nothing to be scared of. I'm going to draw things that are not my best. And that's part of the process. We're going to make mistakes, and we're going to learn from those mistakes. And it's going to be great. welcome everybody who's late. We're just doing some warm-ups here. Just doing some doodles. Just feeling it out to start. Killing a little time while people get in here. But also just getting ourselves reacquainted with the act of drawing. Because I don't know how long it's been since anyone else has practiced. It's been too long for me. So I'm always here to encourage you to kick the rust off. Even if you've never practiced drawing before. Honestly, if you're watching this, I don't know if you're watching it live or watching the VOD later, but if you're watching this and you've never practiced drawing before, and this is the video that gets you to practice, that would be such an honor to me. Because I think anyone can do it. You can always just try something, you know? And maybe you'll surprise yourself. I think that's my favorite thing, is when I draw something that I wasn't expecting, and then I take a step back and look at it, and I go, huh, wasn't expecting that. Didn't know I had that in my brain. And I think drawing has the ability to unlock parts of your brain that maybe you're not using day to day. We can get really locked in to our routines, to everything we have to do, everything that's expected of us. And sometimes just taking a break and seeing where the pen leads you, you'll find stuff that your brain was holding on to that it didn't have another way of expressing. And I think that's kind of fun and exciting. And it helps you get to know yourself a little better. So we're just filling up the page with these scribbles. And if your scribbles look nothing like this, that is cool too. This is just sort of what I feel like scribbling right now, just to get started. And then we'll move into the actual practicing. But I think just like exercising, it's good to do some warm-ups. It's good to do a little stretch before you go for a run or lift some weights. It's good to just reacquaint yourself with the act. And so the parts of your brain and body that you're using to do everything else that we're doing today, we're just easing them into it. And again, even if this is as far as you want to go with it, I still think it's worthwhile. It can just help to turn the part of your brain off that's thinking, what should I be doing? What's on my to-do list? You know, all that stuff. Just let it rest. Let it rest, but then there's other parts of your brain that take over. And that part's really cool. You just let the part of your brain that's like, I'm not good at this. This is a waste of time. Just let that part be quiet for a sec. And see what else you hear in there. See what else you discover while you do this. You might surprise yourself. Okay. All right. So those were some warm-ups. in that regard, now we're gonna just do lines and shapes, because those are the basic building blocks of everything else that we're doing. So just again, we're working our way up to more and more control over what we're trying to do. So let's just start with some parallel lines. Do some vertical. And again, they're not going to be perfect, but try and make them as uniform and evenly spaced as possible. See how well you can do. And yeah, think about how you're holding your drawing implement. Adjust your grip so it's comfortable and so you feel like you have as much control as you can. See where you're moving. If you're using your wrist, try using your elbow. If you're using your elbow, try using your shoulder. The larger your range of motion, the more control you're going to have, the more expressive you're going to be able to be. Just try and pay attention to how you're doing it. Again, these are not perfect. This is just, we're just warming up. Let's do some horizontal. That was not good. Do some horizontal. Oh yeah. These are not parallel at all. That's why we're warming up. Get better. See if we can make them a little better over here. Okay. It's a little better. Some diagonals. We can even do some curves. If you watched my gesture drawing practice, you know that, remember CSI? Those are the sort of basic line shapes we use when we're drawing. You got your the I, that's the straight lines, that's what we've been doing, but you get your C's, sort of curved ones, and again, try and see if you can get them parallel. Got your S's. S's are very difficult to get parallel. Gonna run into each other at some point, but yeah, like that. Can do some like this, a little further spaced apart. And then this is one I saw recently. We start drawing circles. That was a bad one to start. That's okay. Circles, and try and get them inside the lines and touching. And again, they're not all going to be good, but we're just warming up. Just getting all warmed up. Let's just do some freeform circles. Some circles, some oblongs, ellipses. Just remember all the ways that your hand moves when you're drawing. Try and get that control. All right, let's move on to forms. These are the building blocks. So let's give ourselves a little horizon line. Put a little vanishing point here. And let's just draw some rectangles. And then let's have them all going to that horizon line. And we're going to just draw some boxes. Some boxes in space. We're going to start with this nice little 1-point perspective. That's just how we visualize these shapes in space. You know, we're not in art school. We're not going to spend hours drawing boxes, but it's still, you know, it's good to remember how to do it. Have some of them overlapping, different heights. Come on. And again, you know, it's not all, these are just sort of like basic things, but they're not always easy. Basic doesn't necessarily mean easy, but it's worth, I think it's worth doing to just be able to visualize how these shapes look in space, because again, drawing is lying. You are trying to convey three-dimensional forms using only two-dimensional lines and shapes. And so we need to practice doing that. And remembering how stuff looks and how we represent three-dimensional forms in two-dimensional space. And 1-point perspective is a pretty good starting point for that. Because again, if we're going to be drawing armor, that's a lot of shapes. That's a lot of three-dimensional shapes that we're going to need to try and represent. So getting that foundation in, practicing the fundamentals, it's a good way to warm up. Thinking about surfaces, how we express those things. So now that we've done that, we can draw some of them just freeform in space. And we're just going to try and imagine where the vanishing point would be. Just rotate them however we want. Draw these boxes. Draw these boxes. All sorts of different ways you can draw boxes. This one can be coming right at us like this. Have them overlap. Some of them are in front of each other. Some of them are behind. I guess if one thing's in front, something else has to be behind, right? And that's how space works. Get a little one. Maybe a little long one. Yeah, sometimes you see 3 surfaces, sometimes you only see 2, depending on the angle. Get a real tall one. Maybe curve one a little. Yeah. Curving, twisting. Just thinking about them. Moving around, floating around. But the main thing is the sides closest to us, or the edges closest to us, the lines are going to sort of move away from us and get sort of closer together as they move away from us, as we demonstrated with the 1-point perspective. Anytime a flat surface is moving away from us in space, it means that the edges of that surface are sort of going to converge at a point. Julia did a really good class on perspective a while ago, so I highly recommend you check that out if you want a better understanding of that. We're just doing it loosey-goosey style. Okay, so that's that's a little fundamentals warm up, but now we can, this is still a creative endeavor. If we want, we take these boxes and maybe draw some faces on them. That could be fun. That could be a fun thing to do. And imagine sort of how the face would move with the shape of the box. If you want, you can sort of try and find the midpoint by drawing a little X and then going from there. Because we're still trying to have fun here, We're not in art school. We're on a YouTube channel. We're on a YouTube channel that's whole conceit is drawing doesn't have to be too serious. You can just sort of have fun with it. You can take it as seriously as you want. Maybe this guy's looking sort of down in this way. But yeah, that's a little technique. I don't know if I explained that well, but basically, if you've done a decent job drawing your box in perspective and you want to figure out where the middle point is on any one of the surfaces, what you do is you draw, you go corner to corner. And so this is where the middle is, because you're not facing it straight on, so it's not in the exact center horizontally, but you can figure it out by drawing that X shape. this guy a little. Give this one a little chin. Okay. I know I'm already a half hour into class. We haven't drawn any armor yet. We're gonna draw so much armor, guys. Don't you worry. I just think, you know, it's nice to be warmed up. That's all. This guy is screaming, "Where's the armor? I thought that we were gonna draw armor." We are. Chillax, dude. That's what we're gonna do next. Okay. Alright. I'm feeling warm. I don't know about y'all, but I'm feeling warm. And we can address one of the other things that someone asked for. This is from... I'm in streamer mode, so I can't read their name. Hold on. Turn off streamer mode. Pipdurdu, are you here? Yes, I see you. Hi. You asked about synthesizing reference materials, getting reference materials. I do that before every draw class. That is why I ask. I'm gonna turn streamer mode back on so we don't get inundated with Discord notifications. Hello? I never know where anything is. Streamer mode. Streaming. It automatically turns on streamer mode and then it does not show me how to... I need a class on how to turn on and off streamer mode. Why am I not seeing it anywhere? This is all I'm doing now. I'm just going to close it. I'm just going to close Discord. Let's see. I can have... Okay, OBS does not have my desktop audio, so if I get Discord notifications, it doesn't matter. Anyway, sorry for the tangent. Oh no. Hold on. Just want to make sure it opens in the right window. Okay. Okay. Streamer mode's back on. Okay. Sorry about that. It happens. So yeah, I mean, I don't do anything particularly special when I look for reference images. Typically, I'll just do a Google search. I know Google is getting worse to use, so if you prefer a different search engine, I support you. But for this, since we're drawing armor, I was looking up armors, and so usually I will go to a media source, something that I'm familiar with, that I'm a fan of, that has the type of stuff I'm trying to draw. So I looked up a bunch of D&D art and a bunch of Game of Thrones screenshots because I like referencing a mix of photographs. If I'm not drawing from, like, I'm not in a studio drawing a live model, I like to have some actual life drawings to pull from, and I also like getting to look at other artists' interpretations of the thing that I'm trying to draw. I think bouncing between those two is a good way to get your mind thinking, both in terms of drawing what you're seeing, but also abstracting it and making it more stylized, making it more your own. So I think we're just gonna do a few, like, sort of quick study type things from some of these screenshots that I took. I don't remember them all, but obviously armor typically is worn by people. I'm sure you can draw creatures wearing armor too, but typically armor is an invention. It's a human invention that is designed to protect the body in battle. And so in order to draw armor well, you kind of need to have an understanding of human anatomy as well, because typically armor is going to sit on a body. So we're gonna be doing both. We're gonna be trying to do some sort of quick sort of gesture drawings, but all of the gesture drawings are also wearing armor, and so we're going to try and include the armor in the gesture drawing that we're doing, and think about the way that the armor is interacting with the anatomy. So here, we just got some Game of Thrones ones. Let's draw this dude on the right here to start. And again, we're just gonna sort of real quick sort of get a sense of, he's sort of doing sort of a lean in. We can't see, he's wearing pretty baggy armor, so we're gonna include that in how we draw him. Got one arm sort of down like this. We don't really know what the other one's doing, sort of going off here. And we're just going to sort of draw the shapes that we see. Getting pretty boxy here. Got a helmet. This bit sort of comes up like this. And then we've got this nice shape here. His arms coming out here. Guess this is a little bit longer. His torso is a little longer than I drew it. Yeah, we're just warming up. Then this whole part of the body is pretty covered, and then it just goes into the legs like that. Okay. And we'll just do a few of these quick ones. Got a few. Here's Lannister armor from Game of Thrones. Again, we've got this sort of just like straight on pose. Head up top. We got this standing here. Yeah, the armor does a nice job of sort of accentuating different features of the body, because it's designed to both be protective, but you also need to be mobile while you're wearing it. So you get to think about how bodies move in space. He's got his legs sort of like out. I don't know if that's the most effective battle stance, but that's what he's doing. He's got sort of this, like, again, more sort of padded neck bit here. And the helmet's kind of cool. It's got this eye visor, and then it comes out to the side like this. Got this shape in here. And then we've got these sort of bands. How many? One, 2, 3, 2, 3, and then it goes into this shape here. Got our little belt. And then these bits on the side here. Again, more of this sort of motif with the horizontal lines. You get that again on the shoulders. It comes down almost right to the elbow. Little decorative bits as well. It's this fun sort of matching game of like trying to figure out what bits are functional versus what bits are decorative. But again, we're just trying to keep it loose. Just thinking about these sorts of things. Okay, we got a nice full body sort of in movement here with this guy. He's sort of walking towards us. His head's forward a little. So let's have this sort of down angle. So, and he's sort of trudging forward, so it goes right into this sort of slope of the shoulders. Arm out, coming towards us a little foreshortened. He's got a big shield as well. Get these sort of billowing shapes of the cloak he's wearing over top of his armor. He's got a sword. His arms even out even further to the side. The sword sort of coming towards us. Not quite as close to the shield on this side, actually. They always have these long belt buckles. Something I actually didn't notice when I was picking these. Shield goes even more out this way. Got these very sort of baggy pants, these heavy boots. Something like that. We see this helmet that he's wearing comes down basically right over his eyes. Sort of got this little ridge in the middle, and then bits that cover the side. That. The armor itself is very simple, just this sort of bit like that. Can add sort of an indication. And then we've got Stannis next to him. And I really like the way he looks in this too. Move this over a little. Okay. He's not wearing a helmet at all. He's just got his head out. He's sort of squared up. And you can sort of, like, the way they're standing sort of demonstrates the weight of what they're wearing too. You know, armor's heavy. And so it's harder to move in it. He's got this, like, sort of, it really comes out wide down here, which I really like. I like that look a lot. Can't even really see the legs. So much of it is covered by this sort of dressy bit. But you can sort of see them down here. He's got sort of taller boots on. And then he's got this sort of neck protector thing here. It comes into these sorts of ideas, little metal bits here, and then this thing. So it's, you know, it looks like there's like a padded bit, but then these sort of metal plates on here that allows for more protection, but still a decent amount of mobility. So there are lots of different ways to do it. And so the more reference you have, the more creative you can be when designing armor for your characters. He's sort of got this bit coming down here, and this sort of like almost like a railroad of just like metal bits. This part. Got sort of a gloved hand coming in. It's a little higher up. It's got this like metal into glove idea. Sort of big glove. And then yeah, everything else is just sort of padded. Yeah, these combinations of like padding and metal bits, and how you choose to layer those. Again, he's got the long strap of the belt dangling. A lot of dangling bits in these armors. Yeah, something like that, you know. Just to get the idea. Let's see, we got some more. Keep going. Ooh, I like this one. This is a nice sort of scale mail idea. He's sort of at a bit of an angle. Doing like a twist. He's got his arrow knocked. Never been great at drawing someone drawing a bowstring. Drawing. But you know what I mean. So that's... He doesn't have it pulled particularly far back. He's got it sort of... He's got his hand twisted back like this. Got these sort of floppy gloves on, and then he's got the sort of shouldery bits come out like this, like sort of a cloth, like turtleneck idea that goes into this sort of scaly bit, this little house insignia on his chest, and then it's all just like these like ridges of scales, which you can choose to indicate in as much detail as you want. It goes all the way down to the waist, where again we've got this belt, and then this idea. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Nice action pose. The mountain versus the snake. Let's do the mountain first. Got like his shoulders up like this, and he's leaning forward. He's got his weight distributed between his two legs, but it looks like he's put more of it on this leg. Sort of doing like a lunge backwards. We can push that even further probably. Yeah, I think, you know, practicing drawing armor is a good way to also practice drawing poses and anatomy, just because most of the references are gonna include that as well. He's got his back really hunched like this. Again, I think you know, this is not perfect by any stretch. But again, we're just practicing. Because yeah, I always draw legs too short. I think that's a common mistake people make, and I'm oftentimes making that mistake as well. So, you know, if you got to make adjustments, you can make adjustments as you go. And yeah, he's a thick boy. So, like this actually, yeah. See, his stance is even wider than I've drawn, because this bit is fully, like, his arms out pretty wide, but this whole bit comes all the way behind. like that. And yeah, you know, the shapes you see in the armor can actually help you understand the pose a little better, because you've got this really sort of low angle on the belt. His leg back here is bent this way, but then like his foot's still twisted out, going like this. Sort of coming forward, but still sort of out. This one's coming up more towards us. And then yeah, he's got this big flowy bit. He's got this bit coming out in front, sort of a chainmail, it looks like. And then he's got padding as well. This part's coming around like that. Yeah, there's so much movement here. And then yeah, we can indicate the shapes of the bit. So he's got chainmail underneath this more sort of like splint plate mail. And so that's kind of baggy. And then he's got these big old World of Warcraft looking shoulders. I love a big shoulder, little pauldron idea. That always makes a guy look imposing, making the shoulders big like that. And then he's got this sort of like chainmail underneath that protects the neck. And it looks like there's a bit of plate that sort of comes up here. And then he's got these sort of splints here that I guess allow for a little bit more mobility than just a solid plate. Although it's pretty solid underneath, it looks like. And then yeah, he's got gloves with this like sort of metal, like the gloves themselves are leather, but they have these like metal bits on them, sort of interlocking metal bits. We can indicate that like the chainmail has these sort of bits here. And he's got his big sword. Right down like that. Glad we practiced drawing all those straight lines, huh? You can add as much detail as you want. We've got the basic shapes in, but then like everything's more detailed. So but yeah. That idea. And yeah, you can for sure use the armor your characters are wearing to help describe their character, you know? Like this looks like the sort of armor someone named the Mountain, someone who goes by the Mountain would wear. Very big, very bulky, very imposing. But he's strong enough that he can wear it and still move. In order to wear armor like this effectively and still fight well, you need to be strong enough to move while wearing something this heavy. Yeah. Kind of like how this one turned out. It's pretty cool. If I didn't get it exactly right. Get the idea. It sort of comes out like that around the edges. Oh, hi Zappy. Welcome. We're just drawing some armor. Drawing some Game of Thrones armor right now. But again, you know, you can pick whatever media you like. If you're more of a Lord of the Rings guy, you could do Lord of the Rings. And again, I just did a little Google search, but if you're really feeling like going above and beyond, you can just start up the movie and take screenshots. Whatever you like. All right. Maybe let's do a few drawn from reference from one of my favorite fantasy artists, because I'm a child of the 90s and I grew up playing D&D 3rd edition, so I love me some Wayne Reynolds characters. I love the way he stylizes fantasy armor. So again, we get this like nice sort of very angular muscly dude. It's just doing sort of like this sort of look. And again, like we do not need to go into as much detail here. Like Wayne Reynolds loves a very detailed, complicated character design, but we're mostly just sort of trying to indicate the big shapes. So he's got like, you know, big gauntlet here. I love the shapes. This big sort of like just sort of what jumps out at me is this big sort of like neck protector here. This big helmet, which is just sort of like the front of the helmet. Like that. Exposed shoulders, so you can really swing that big old sword he's holding. And then this sort of, it's got these like dangly bits here, sort of triangles. And then the chest piece coming up like that. And then, yeah, just like this armor again, like we're really sort of getting a sense of who this character is. It just feels like sharp pieces of metal that have just been sort of like slapped together on this guy. Which is pretty cool. I don't know if I've used this exact image before on a DrawClass. I might have. I really like this one. And yeah, obviously we're not getting all the details, but it's still pretty fun. You know, spiky, jagged, shapy. Very different from the just sort of like soft padded armor on someone else. And then this sword's really cool. Just like no real cross guard. It's just a big old slab of metal. He's got this sort of like he has this like this red sort of like tattered banner around the bottom as well. There's a lot going on, but it's pretty fun. He's got like a thing on his back. More tattered banners. That idea. Do one more. We got this guy who's got no chest protection. All the protection's on the arms and legs, which is kind of fun. Don't know how practical that is, but again, we're in fantasy, so doesn't necessarily need to be practical. You can just sort of play around with it. And sometimes I'm going to stop talking while I'm doing this because I'm really concentrating. But yeah. Sort of got this cool bone necklace here. Just enough, these interlocking pieces that again allow for mobility, but they're still protecting. It looks like we can see some sort of like cloth elements on the underside. This big sort of like belt thing here. Exposed chest, nice. And then the same sort of interlocking idea for the leg armor. Big sort of knee guard here. I don't even really know what's going on with the feet, but that's okay. We don't, it's not for us to know. Just sort of using it as a base. Just flailing around on a tablet. Yeah. We're just flailing. We're just flailing together. It's okay. But like underneath all of this stuff, we've got sort of like a pose, right? And then, once you have a pose, you can sort of play around on top. So maybe let's do that now. Let's move into the sort of freeform sketching idea. We've filled our brains now with all of these reference images. So now let's extrapolate. Let's sketch a character off the dome. So I don't know. I was kind of enjoying that big sort of beefy character we were drawing before, so maybe let's go that direction. So again, we can just start with any old pose. Maybe let's start with like a less dynamic pose. So this is sometimes what I like to do. Is like get a sense, sort of rough in an idea of who a character might be. And again, like we've got plenty of draw classes on anatomy and that sort of thing. So if you're feeling lost on that, always good to just like practice drawing your anatomy fundamentals. But let's just sort of rough in a guy. Just sort of get a basic, just sort of a basic guy here. Can even... I always struggle with the legs. So we're not going to draw full body pose. That's just how he's going to look. He's sort of broad shouldered, broad chested, and this is sort of a very basic pose. Nothing too crazy. So, you know, you could take this and sort of start adding details, or you can try doing a few other poses. And see how the sketch develops as we try some different poses. So like this is one idea. But now maybe, you know, let's push it. Let's push the pose a little further. Maybe we broaden up the chest. We really want there to be like, really want to indicate how wide this fellow is. So we broaden up the chest, and then maybe the legs are less wide. You know, this is a route we could take. Doesn't have to be the one, but I like giving myself options, seeing like what elements can I exaggerate and still get away with it. So yeah, this guy has sort of a different feel now. How small do we make the head? Really small. Now we've got this like real heckin' chonker of a man. Where again, like the proportions are a little wonkier, and that's okay. It's our drawing. We can do what we want. We're just assessing options here. Maybe we do this again, but maybe we've made the legs too skinny on that one. So like let's, you know, we can still have this very broad shoulder, but then like maybe the legs, it gets broad again down here. Get this sort of more, put a little more meat on those leg muscles as well. And just by doing that, it sort of forces us to pose him a little differently, right? Like any element you change is going to lead to other changes as well. Just sort of the fun part of it. And again, like I'm just on this like sort of muscle guy kick, but like your guy doesn't have to be muscly at all. Your sketch, whatever you're sketching, like this is just an example idea. But we're just sort of iterating here. And we're trying to just explore our options before we commit to anything. So yeah, I kind of like this one. So now that we're here, we can try doing some poses with these sorts of proportions. So let's take him, use him as our reference point. And like what are some other ways we could pose this guy? We could have him more sort of like hunched forward. Sort of like the that mountain pose, that Game of Thrones one we were looking at before. So what happens when we hunch him forward? We get sort of this foreshortening on the chest. And then we have to decide what his arms are doing, what his legs are doing. You know, it's all just like making decisions. Maybe he's like reaching for us. Maybe he's doing like a reach, so we get this sort of dramatic foreshortening. On the hand. That's an option. What are his legs doing? I'm not crazy about what I've drawn here. Let's try something else. Stretched out. Maybe this one's curved back like this, and then this one's also coming towards us. I don't know. I'm not crazy about that either. So yeah, this is my sketching process. I don't know if this is correct to do, but like we're trying to sort of find a balance in the pose. So maybe we try more of like a twist. Like maybe he's running towards us. You know, like we're just sort of like iterating on it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not this one's not working for me. That's okay. Delete your art. Try again. It's fine. I did kind of like the hunch though. So maybe like more of like a hunch and twist, like sort of coming this way, one arm up, one arm lowered. Again, I'm thinking back to I'm trying to remember exactly what was happening in that one. It was like sort of his legs were sort of out like this. This one was a little bent, sort of going this way. This one's sort of coming towards us like this. But, you know, this arm doesn't have to be doing the same thing the other one was doing. Maybe it's out. Yeah. Yeah, something like this. This arm maybe is coming down like that. Don't hate that. That's kind of fun. Can we push this even further? We try, you know, now we're just like adjusting individual elements. Like what? Maybe arm up like this. Like he's going like why I oughta. That's kind of fun. I'm kind of digging this one. And in this one, it looks like maybe this leg would actually be more forward than this one. This one's sort of receding, and this one's coming towards us. So I kind of like this pose. So now we've settled on a pose we like. So now let's just, we got to do a classic flip it and make sure it actually looks okay. I oftentimes forget that step, but since y'all are watching, let's do it. Let's make whatever adjustments we need to make now before before we go any further. Okay. So it looks a little bit, I feel like this leg could come out a little bit more based on where this other one is. Maybe this can come in a little bit more, just to get it a little bit more balanced seeming. It's actually not looking terrible. Sort of like, yeah. Just want to make sure that we understand where all the bits are going. This leg is pointing more this way, or this foot's pointing more this way. I've got the chest, got the pelvis, got the legs going. Okay. Yeah, this is working for me. Okay, so now that we've got the pose figured out, we can start sketching in the details. So yeah, it's kind of a messy process. I realize I did not do the best job maybe explaining it with words, but it's something. I don't have a more sort of clinical way to describe it, unfortunately. I just sort of vibe it out. I just sort of feel it out and go with what I'm feeling. So now that we're here, let's flip it back and make sure it still looks good the other way. Yeah. Yeah, this is all right. So now let's take what we learned from the, I don't know, this leg is still bothering me. Why is it bothering me? It's because like the whole body's twisting this way, and so this leg feels like maybe it should be like, yeah, I mean this is the whole like sketch process. Yeah, maybe he's doing like a sort of like a wrestling move, like he's about to like fall on you. He's like really off balance. He's about to like do the people's elbow on you. Does that make sense? He's doing sort of like a twist like this. So like this part of his body is going this way, but then when it gets to the pelvis, it's twisting. Or was it okay before? I don't know. Now it looks like this part's in front. Yeah, that's the size man you don't want doing a wrestling move on you, true. Okay, let's... I'm sorry. But this is what we're doing. This is the path we're on now. Oh boy. Jeez, oh man. Like this. That's sort of back to where we had it before, but now, okay. Yeah. Sort of like that. that make sense? Anatomically, does this does this work? Or should it be more like... You're really getting a peek into like how it feels to draw if your name is Nathan Yaffe. Cuz yeah, I feel like yeah. Okay. All right. Let's restart on the legs. Let's get a reset on the legs cuz yeah, I like okay. We've got the spine sort of going like that. Got this leg over here. Yeah, maybe it's more like this. Like we've got the knee sort of coming towards us. He's standing more like this. Now I'm in the weeds, man. I've lost the plot. Oh no. Damn it. Nathan, show me how you sketch. Well, you start off fine and then you sort of have like a panic attack, I think is that's sort of my process. Hope that resonates. Okay. I think it's like I think we'll yeah, like maybe it's like this. I think it's like this. Very off balance now. But that's okay. Flip it again. No, that's not right. It's not right. All right, we're going to get into the like the real transform stuff. If you're not drawing digitally, I apologize. Like that. I should have just left it where I had it. I think it was fine before. So yeah, part of sketching is driving yourself crazy a little bit. And you know, if it's not working, you can just sort of delete your art and start over. But that's, you know, that's part of it. That's part of the game, man. This is part of the process. I just wanted to sketch some armor on this guy, but I don't like what his legs are doing. I like the top part. All right, let's just start over with the legs. Let's just start over with the legs. Let's just try something else. Jeez Louise. All right. What else could the legs be doing? He could be standing very properly. Sometimes that's what you need to do, is just like... Oh no, I hate that too. This is embarrassing. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We're learning together and it's fine. Okay. Let's remember anatomy. Torso. Chest. Abdomen. Pelvis. Legs are... We want the legs to sort of be like out, I think. But let's like actually figure out why. Yeah, okay. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Knees. I think I just made maybe the legs too short before. They might still be too short, but this is looking better. This is looking and feeling better. Flip it one more time. Okay. We're going to go with this. It's not perfect, but this is what we're going to go with. So now we have the base pose. Let's give this guy some armor. Let's draw some armor on this guy. So yeah, like I liked that sort of chainmail with plate idea before, but I like how toned his arms are. So maybe, you know, we give him the big old pauldrons. I like the big pauldrons. I always like to give my my armored characters big pauldrons. I think that's just fun. You know, I'm a World of Warcraft kid, so we go with the big pauldrons. Love this sort of like shapiness of this idea, and then yeah, let's just have like exposed biceps for this guy. Like that's his aesthetic. And then we can give him some big old gauntlets. And then maybe one of them like elbow spikes like on the Wayne Reynolds piece. We're just like pulling elements that we liked from the references we were using. Just see how it feels, because he needs mobility here. So this needs to be sort of a separate piece than what's on his arm, than what's on his forearm, that is. We can have that sort of here too. And again, we're just sort of visualizing how these shapes work in space. He's got sort of a big chest. I think this this metal chest piece here probably is a little segmented, so it's got this bit for the chest. Let's give like sort of a piece here, and then they always have sort of a belt around their midsection. And then we can really sort of cheat these legs, because as we saw, we can sort of give them these like this sort of big wide idea here. And that can really save us a lot of headache with dealing with these legs. Sort of come up here like this. Sort of these two sort of like outer pieces here, and then like this one in the middle. Maybe there's like there's like some layering happening. Okay, something like that. And then maybe we just like indicate that there's like some armor on his feet as well. Some like metal boots or something. And let's give him a helmet, why not? I don't feel like drawing a face. We saw a few different helmet ideas. I like the kind that have like the side guards and then like the front visor. And then this bit can be in shadow. Okay. All right. A little rough and ready, but like I kind of like this. Just got to make sure that like all the bits sort of make sense. Get just like an indication of like his mouth here. And then I don't know, do we want like a decorative sort of like crest here? Okay. It's kind of fun. We can do a little bit of shading. I know, I think Xandrubert wanted shading armor in different light sources. So we can try that. We can use this as our base drawing for that. Rip sleeve chainmail is funny. Maybe there's no chainmail. Maybe it's just plate. Maybe he's just got like sort of like padding underneath. I didn't really draw any chainmail. He's just got his biceps out because he's cocky. He wants people to see him. Everything else is covered. Yeah, let's do some shading. Let's do just like typically when I'm doing a more finished piece, I'll ink before doing the rendering, but for the purposes of this class, let's just, you know, let's just do a little. So let's just we're gonna block the whole thing in like a neutral gray to start, and then we can explore some different shading ideas about it. And we'll see how it goes. The sketch is still kind of rough, but I spent way longer on it than I thought I was going to. And I guess maybe that's part of the lesson, is give yourself more time to sketch than you think you're going to need. I'm sorry, y'all. That's just, I got in the weeds on it. After everything I said up top, I started liking the drawing too much. And, you know, this is practice for me too. We're practicing along together. So, okay, we've got this nice neutral gray. And again, just like a little, I went over some like basic shading theory values in a previous draw class, but just to like remind you, basically what we're doing when we are applying values to our art is we're trying to, again, use trickery to indicate three-dimensionality in something that in a two-dimensional medium, right? So in real life, there aren't, we don't see things in lines. Everything is forms. And the way we see forms in space has to do with light reflecting off of those forms. Like right now, you're looking at my face. Part of it is more well lit than other parts of it, and the way the light hits those surfaces indicates the form. So let's just say we've got a light source. It's like sort of coming from up here, and a little in front. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna indicate where that light is hitting the armor. And so we'll start with, like, imagine this armor is very shiny. There are going to be a lot of parts where the light is being reflected very brightly. And so that's all we're doing, is we're just showing where the light is hitting. And typically in nature, in the world, there's not just one, there's oftentimes one main light source, but light bounces, it reflects. So on the far side, we can indicate sort of this reflected light. Again, if we're imagining this armor is like very shiny, then it's going to get some of that reflected light that's bouncing off of the ground on the other side. And then we can indicate shadows. And shadows are basically where the light isn't hitting. And again, there are two sort of basic categories of shadow. There are form shadows, so just basically if you have, you know, this rounded piece of the pauldron, there's going to be part that the light is hitting, and then as it curves away from the light, the form of the object is going to make it so that parts of it are in shadow because the light is not hitting it. So there's form shadow. There is also cast shadow. So we've got this sort of large pauldron bit here. It's blocking the light from hitting this part of the armor. And so that creates a shadow as well. And we're just sort of blocking those in. You know, the helmet is casting a shadow on this guy's face because the visor is blocking the light from hitting it. And then, you know, this part of, you know, this whole thing, this billowy bit is really probably going to be casting a pretty substantial shadow on anything that it's covering, you know. And we've got, you know, the lower you get, the further away you get from the light source, the darker it's going to get as well. So again, this is a very, very rough and ready idea. So that's one light source idea. We could also do sort of a rim lighting where if we want to indicate that this guy's really imposing, we could say like the light is behind him and he's like blocking it. So like the light's coming in from sort of above and behind. And so what I like to do when I'm doing like a rim light is just sort of darken the whole form except for like the very edges. And that can really create sort of a dramatic, imposing figure. Like rim lighting is just sort of like a cheat code for make something look more dramatic. So if you ever want to do that, that's a way to do that. And then you just have these little bits where the light is hitting the edge. But besides that, everything else is darkened. And then, you know, depending on how shiny the armor is, you have these little bits that are very bright, but everything else is just dark. You know, you can even go above the line layer and sort of like, right, like if we want to really indicate it, we could even show that like the light's coming in from behind and he's blocking it and he's like casting a big shadow coming at us like that. That's kind of fun. But again, the armor doesn't have to be shiny, right? Like it could be dulled, it could be dirty. And if that's the case, we just sort of lose these like extra shiny bits. And we can even we can even come in with like within the darkened bits here, we can still indicate like slight variation. Because even though the main light source is behind, if there's any other light, there's still going to be slight differences in what's being hit. Just, you know, the further in, the further away from that light source behind. And it's really sort of up to you how many tones you want to indicate. When you're doing it. Yeah, add some tones and suddenly you're stuck in a hallway with this man. Exactly. But yeah. That's the basic idea. Wow, we really ran out of time. I thought, I don't know. Yeah, we did not get a chance to do any creature-y stuff today. I apologize. We could for sure, if you the person who wanted creature drawings, we could definitely do that for my next class. I love drawing creatures. But if you go back and watch some of my previous guided practices, we do a lot of animal drawings, and that's fun. That's fun to do as well. Yeah, I guess, you know, we could try like an even lower, like a real, you mentioned hallway, like instead of behind and above, the light source could be like below, sort of like down here. And then you know, like here's the horizon line. And like, yeah, you're in like a tunnel and you can see the light coming from behind. And that's gonna affect the rim lighting in terms of like where the rim is. So now instead of above, it's going to be below. It's going to be more like this. And like the legs are actually going to be lighter because the light is coming from lower down. You can really play around with it and have fun, experiment with it, see what works for you. And yeah, like, so in this case, like I already added in this sort of like ambient occlusion, like these dark bits in my sketch, because that I was sketching with the idea of like a more up light source. So you need to sort of go back into your sketch layer and sort of lighten these areas up as well, because now the light is coming from those areas. Those areas are not in shadow anymore. They are more well lit, sort of thing. So, you know, you could even plan that out. If you're really smart, you could plan that out while you're doing the sketch. You could include, you know, you don't need to sketch line art. You could do you do sort of thumbnailing instead, which I don't do very often. Maybe I should. Might save me some time where, you know, what am I doing? Where is this guy? So, you know, instead of spending all that time drawing with line art, you could start smaller and just sort of like block in, be very, very sort of rough with it, and just sort of block in how you want your scene to look, you know? And that you can really mess around with composition, right? Like, do we want him to be like really close? Is this kind of fun? Or do we want to be like, he's up here looking down at us? That's another way to think about it. Or, you know, do we want the entire thing to be dark? And we just see like him emerging. Like we just see like a little indication of his form sort of coming in like that. I sort of made him look like a Muppet. I don't know why. Something like that. Lots of different ways to do it. But the more you practice, the better you'll get. And again, I'm not, you know, I do a silly drawing show where I just try and have fun with it. There are obviously so many incredibly talented, skilled artists who are providing a lot more detailed and nuanced and instructive ways to practice. But I think as long as you're practicing, you're already making the effort to improve, and I think that's to be commended. And if what you need is just like a buddy to help struggle through it with you, I'm happy to do it on the months that I'm hosting DrawClass, you know? So, ooh, oh yeah, that's true. Spencer is doing a storyboarding class. Friend of the show, Spencer Wan's doing a storyboarding class. I can Google it. Maybe I can find that. That's the final thing I Google is Spencer Wan's storyboarding class. Okay, with the Brainstorm School. The class is Saturday, June 27th. So you got plenty of time to sign up. Yeah. If you want like a detailed, focused class taught by an expert in their field, highly recommend checking that out. But I'm glad people enjoy these sort of draw along practice streams. It's sort of what I feel qualified to do. Because I'm still learning too. I do not consider myself an expert in any of these things. Drawfee is me and my friends messing around, trying to make each other laugh with art, but the fundamentals and the skills, those are things that I'm always working on, and I could probably stand to work on them more. So I'm glad I'm forced to as a result of these classes. They remind me that these are good things to do. And again, totally fine to embarrass yourself and mess up. That's part of it. That's part of the process. So thanks for thanks for coming along on this journey as I struggled to draw a strong man's legs in a pose. But I had fun. I like looking at armor. I like thinking about anatomy and shapes and all that sort of thing. we're all learning together. If you drew anything during this class that you would like to share, I'm always really pleased to see what people share in the DrawClass chat on the Drawfee Discord. Those always make me happy, and people are always really encouraging of each other, and that makes me happy. I think we've got a lovely community here. And if you're watching this in VOD form later, you I hope you enjoyed it. And of course, you can always sign up for DrawClass, the DrawClass tier on Patreon for any month you are interested in being here live and drawing along live and influencing what the class is about. We usually announce what the classes are going to be pretty close to the start of each month. So if you want to just sign up for Patreon at the lowest tier so you can get those announcements in the Patreon Discord, and then you can bump up to the DrawClass tier if it seems like something you'd be interested in being there live for. Jacob and Julia are usually more focused with their classes. So, but for me, I've just been doing these draw classes, these like guided practice ones. So I usually just sort of open the floor to whoever's going to be joining that month and have them tell me what they want to see. I just left the canvas blank. Let's bring our boy back. Yeah, there he is. So yeah, if you want to influence what we practice, sign up for the tier. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and keep practicing. And I hope you you do. I hope you do. What am I saying? I hope you do. I hope you have fun drawing, and you can make practicing less daunting for yourself. That's always the goal. Because you don't even need an audience watching. If I can do it with an audience watching, you can do it. You can do it by yourself. I just know it. So yeah. That's it for me. Have a good weekend, everybody. As always, very sorry. See you next time. Happy drawing. Bye-bye.